I just got done showing a house, and I thought I would share a quick story about an experience that I had on a recent transaction. So I was helping some customers of mine that were looking to buy a property, and we started our search and quickly found out there wasn't a ton that was available. And in one situation, there's multiple offers and it's hard to compete. Other situations, we're seeing properties and it's like it's not quite what they're looking for, and not super excited because there's just not a lot of inventory. So finally, we see one property that came up. From the photos, it didn't look that exciting, and almost one that we didn't look at. But because there was so little to look at, they decided, like, okay, let's go ahead and check it out. So we went to go see it, and when we saw it in person, turns out they love it, and it was in great condition, and it was a really nice house, really fit their needs. And after talking about it, it was like, yeah, we want to make an offer on this property. So in looking at the surrounding sales, it was priced lower than it should have been. It could have been priced higher. And I was sure that they had multiple offers on it. They had listed it on a Friday. We were showing it on a Monday. The weekend had passed. I called the agent, and they don't have any offers on the property. So I'm talking to my customers, and I'm like, man, the photos aren't that great, so maybe some people didn't check it out. I looked at the listing more closely, and I realized that it said 0 bathrooms, which obviously had bathrooms, but they accidentally put in the number 0 for bathrooms. And I was talking to my customers that, like, hey, a lot of people probably never saw this at all, because they start their searches with a minimum of bedrooms, minimum bathrooms, and this one just never came up in their search. Or if they have the automated emails set up, it never came up because there's a minimum of 3 bedrooms and 2 baths typically that people put in, or whatever they put in. But this had 0, so if there was any minimum bathrooms, it wasn't coming up in their search. So where normally in this particular situation, being priced low, figuring that it was competitive with multiple offers, and I would have recommended they come in above the list price, I actually talked to them and recommended that we go below the list price. And we did, and they came back and accepted our offer. So we got the price lower because less people saw it. Now, the seller just wanted more time on the closing transaction. And with the time that they wanted, they needed more time for them to be able to find a house to buy. So we're like, okay, that's fine. We gave them that time. A couple weeks went by, and I called to check in with the agent to see, hey, how are things going? You guys have things squared away? Are we ready to close? And she tells me that they're having a hard time for the seller to lock down a new contract on a new property. So this new property search is tough for them. And the agent said, things have just been so tough since we got our contract on this property. I got the impression from the agent that she thought that the market just took off, that it just got crazy, and that they just missed out because things are all of a sudden selling like crazy. And the thing is, the market's been like that for quite a while now. Multiple offer situations, not a lot of inventory. I've seen properties get up to 30, 40 something, offers on one property, meaning that a lot of people aren't getting them. And but this agent didn't seem to know that going into it. And if they did, they might have made plans differently when accepting our contract. So fast forward, and we're going to the day of closing, and we're going to do our final walkthrough. And for the final walkthrough, we show up and we open the door, and the seller is inside moving their stuff. And it's kind of awkward and unexpected, and I kind of step away and call the seller. And the seller said, the listing agent. And the listing agent didn't know that this was happening. And we have to come up with a plan for this, about how we're going to work this out. And then the agent ends up sharing with me that, like, they never, they made offers on 7 different properties. They never were able to lock anything else down. They still don't have a place figured out for her. And she's last minute moving all her stuff into a storage shed. And going to be staying in a room with somebody until they figure out her next place. So we did close, and we felt bad for the seller, though. Myself and the buyers, we felt bad for her. We didn't know that was going to work out that way, where she didn't have a place to go. But just looking back on this, I mean, they probably left at least $15,000 on the table, and just how the price was started low, lower than it should have been, 0 bathrooms where a lot of people didn't see it. And then the people that did see it, the photos, they look like, cell phone photos. They didn't look very attractive. And the house was a lot nicer than the photos looked. So that if they would have, done a better job marketing and professionally advertising the listing, they left money on the table, and then they're in a tough spot because they didn't adequately understand the market and make plans for it and have a plan for what to do for that next house going forward. So all that to say, work with an experienced real estate agent that is in the market and knows the market and can help walk you through all these steps to both, have a plan for where you're going to go that makes sense, and then be able to take advantage of this market. If you don't have a plan for where to go first, you that's got to be figured out before you put a house on the market in this market.